Blog Talk Radio.
And Living Dead magazine. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight on episode 71, we're going to have actress, writer, and producer Jo Pincushion on. We're going to be talking about her and her work on Annuncio, Meat Train, The First Step, and the upcoming American Exorcist. We're also going to be talking to her about her show on Scrapple TV entitled Creepy Basement, as well as her work in social media and content creation. So I think it'll help give another insightful view on what goes on inside the horror industry and all the different types of media and content that can be created for it. In our Scream Factory Special Edition Blu-ray release review tonight, we are going to be talking about Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland, as well as Chemical Burn Entertainment's Sinister Visions. Once again, going back to the anthology theme that I have been enjoying over the last couple of months when it comes to our digital dismemberment spotlights. We will also be featuring Satan's Wrath and their most recent CD, Die Evil, in our Metal Blade Spotlight. As a matter of fact, let's get a little bit more info on Satan's Wrath right now. Satan's Wrath, the new CD, Die Evil, was released by Metal Blade Records on May 5th of this year. Launching forth on a nefarious mission dictated specifically by the Horned Master himself, Satan's Wrath stubbornly refused to take their foot off the accelerator on their nightmarish ride to insanity and overload. This brainchild of sulfur-throated multi-instrumentalist Tas Danazoglu has grown in monstrous stature, unflinching cruelty, and sheer bloody-minded intensity over the course of its two full-throttle platters thus far, building an ominous pathway for Die Evil, its third unholy document, which emerges from Stamos' own 210 studios in Berlin onto Twilight in intimidating fashion, blasting their blasphemous attack into dimensions of dementia, heretofore deemed beyond the pale. The formula in Satan's Wrath's cauldron is simple, and the resultant elixir delivers a feverish 21st century continuation of the paganizing infernal assault that was heavy metal at its underground mid-'80s pinnacle. Damaged by the slavering spite of Venom, the flesh-ripping fortitude of Metal Blade's-era Slayer, the nightmarish derangement of Possessed, and the machine gun onslaught of Destruction. Yet make no mistake, this is no retro confection, no harking back to an idealized, battle-jacketed aesthetic ideal. This is a sound driven by a hard-driving imperative of corruption and malevolence, and rendered forth with an unflinching filth of delivery. Hideous new worlds of depravity are opened up by Die Evil. Without a shadow of a doubt, the darkest, fastest, and most powerful blast of fury than this demonic force has thus yet produced. Satan's Wrath, diseased headspace, is one where to play heavy metal means to be a thorn in society's side and an adversary to respectability. Where metal means transgression, where metal means war, where metal means evil. Without further ado, let's get into the first shot of Satan's Wrath in our Metal Blade Spotlight this evening. The name of the CD is Die Evil. The name of the song is Raised on Sabbath. to the Calling Hours Horror Podcast on Horror Society Radio. You just heard Satan's Wrath from the CD Die Evil. The song was raised on Sabbath. Not to worry, metalheads. We will have 2 more shots at listening to some Satan's Wrath coming up during the show. But now it is time for some digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in our first digital dismemberment spotlight for the evening, we are going to be discussing Chemical Burn Entertainment's Sinister Visions. And to give you a little bit of a background info on Sinister Visions, which has absolutely a outstanding DVD cover. This is a anthology-style film, similar to what I've been covering over the last couple of months. The synopsis: are you ready for a terror attack combining both succubi, women possessed by demons, serial killers in electric chairs, aggressive zombies, a vengeful crazy women, men with very deep emotional scars, and of course, a fair amount of amputations and gore? Add a bunch of dark humor to the mix, and you have Sinister Visions. Now, this is a little bit different than your normal-styled anthology films, and for those of you listening, of course, spoiler alerts. This has several shorts, 7 that I counted to be exact, 5 that make up the main track of the film. And some of these are micro shorts, lasting about 2.5, 3 minutes. So I think that brings a little something different to this eclectic mix of short horror films. One of the things that's unique is there are several several directors involved with this. Some of these were previously released short films. Some of them were unreleased. The media that came with the film said it was 120 minutes, but it actually ran an hour and 20 minutes. The clips vary in quality and content, so we'll go into detail on each one. The first one is entitled Succubus by Kim Sonderholm. And Kim, I believe, has done shorts that I have covered previously on the podcast. And this is a Swedish short film. And it stars Kate Herlo as Emma. And she appears to be an archaeology student who becomes possessed by succubus. She's in the desert, it looks like excavating something, and accidentally drops it, and it breaks open, and there's a little puff of smoke that comes up that she passes out after inhaling. Cut to a little bit time later, we see Kim in tears, basically, at her house, and we kind of flash back to her finding this object and excavating it and dropping it. And she starts to hear voices telling her to do things. And eventually one night, she just up and goes into the bathroom and starts dressing herself up, and dresses up in a nice black dress and heads out to what appears to be a party at a local establishment or bar. She walks in and sees a man with another woman and goes over to the couch and interjects herself in between the two of them, upsetting the woman, setting her off, and she sits there with the man and entices him to dance and to eventually leave with her. Once they get back to where she takes them, she basically mounts him on the wall, down to the floor, and begins to have sex with him, and it starts to become rougher and rougher, and suddenly she transforms. And I really like the makeup in this into a succubus, demoness. And a lot of the makeup, you could tell, was of an airbrushed variety, but I really liked the look of the wings, her eyes, her face, which had several bone-like protrusions coming out of it as well. And as the short cuts out, we see her back in her apartment and find another body on her couch that she has obviously ravished. And the short stops right there. Following that short, there's a segment it doesn't have a title really, but it shows two survivors of a zombie apocalypse in a science lab, and this is a really short that if you're not paying attention, you might miss it or mistake it as something else. And it shows where they built basically possibly a robot, which you're never actually shown, and the robot is taping what's going on. And the one scientist accidentally gets shot in the leg by the other man that he's with, and the zombies come in and basically eat and devour them before eventually eating and dismembering the robot as well. So it's almost kind of like it's a little lost footage. My only complaint, and of course you guys know this as being an effects artist, was there was a CG effect in here where a guy gets his arm ripped off, and while it's not horrible, it's certainly noticeable. It's something that'll catch your eye, but I really feel like that was the only weakness to that particular short. There was a third segment that also, it appears to be a commercial, and it's about a collar called Hold Care, and it starts off with a guy walking down the road and starts walking with what you would assume is his wife, and then all of a sudden he turns into a zombie and starts chasing her, and basically it's a commercial for putting a collar on the zombie so that they can be led around and controlled. It's really kitschy. It just really seems to come out of nowhere, but I think that's pretty cool. There's a certain comedic element to it. I don't know why, for some reason, the commercial, this little spot makes me think of Tom Six from Human Centipede. But other than that, it appears to be a little commercial that you watch. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now, the next actual larger segment is My Undead Girlfriend by Heinrich Brandt, and I really enjoyed this one. You have Stefan Johansson, who plays Keith, has dinner obligations with his soon-to-be in-laws, and his fiancée has turned into a zombie during the night, and in the whole lead up to it, it shows him giving her a shower and applying her makeup because there's some kind of scam going on to get her family's money, and of course if she's dead, he can't marry her. So they go to this dinner short and have dinner, and this kind of reminds me of the scene in Dead Alive where Lionel's mother is dead, and the Wellington Ladies Welfare League shows up, and he's serving them dinner, and things happen. Well, it doesn't go as quite as well as he had hoped. His fiancée winds up eating her family's rabbit and eventually winds up attacking the mother and then the father. Hysterically, it goes on to show photo album pictures after the wedding, and it shows them in different locations, vacations, and things like that. This one definitely has more of a dark comedy sense to it, but I thought it was really well acted out and is probably my favorite on the entire disc. The third feature story is called Mother Knows Best, which is again directed by Kim Sonderholm. This one's a little different. Not really sure where to go with this one. It's about a guy who has an overprotective mother, and she doesn't like any of the women that he's ever dated. There's not a lot of suspense to it. The mother badgers him while he gets ready, shaves, cooks dinner, and things like that. In this one, when his date shows up and winds up being someone he knows from his past, and as he's talking to her, you keep hearing his mother off screen, and at first you assume that the mother is there, but you very quickly find out that he's hearing his mother's voice in his head, or so you would think. The young lady tries to leave, finds the door locked, and hears noises downstairs in the basement. She goes downstairs to explore and finds the dead bodies of other women, including one live victim. Well, he winds up cornering her in the basement and knocking her unconscious with a fire poker and ties her up. And he tells her how he thinks things would, he wished things were different. And at the end, his mother's body is in a rocking chair, and he lays his head on her lap and places the hand on his head And then suddenly the hand starts to stroke his head, and the corpse of his mother opens her eyes and talks to him, saying that she does know best. So, really different. Nothing that really stood out. Again, it's not that it's terrible. It's not a large amount of blood or gore or anything like that. The next segment is entitled Scorn Woman, and that, of course, is, again, directed by Kim Sonderholm. Now, this one I liked a little bit better. You find a blonde-headed woman holding another woman hostage, and you find out that the woman that's being held hostage was the mistress to the blonde woman's husband. There's a lot of arguing, talking about what he did, what she did, and eventually he's brought in and tied down, too. And it moves into some torture elements where she cuts him, carves him up a little bit, and eventually she kills the woman on the bed as well by slitting her throat. At the end, you find out that the little boy, her son, the woman that's killed, was handcuffed and bound in the living room, and the blonde-headed woman takes the son away to be her new mother. Now, the final one, which is a little bit more gruesome, is called Genital Genocide. People will either really like this one or really hate it. This one was done by Doug L. And basically what it is there's a man who is being put to death in the electric chair for raping and murdering a bunch of women. And during the time that he's there, before he's executed, there are family members there to see the execution, and he recounts all the violent and nasty things he did to him. In particular, the first one deals a lot with body mutilation and necrophilia, driving nails into the corpse, driving nails into his own groin area, and acts of necrophilia. All the way at the end, there's a pretty nasty scene where after the electric switch is thrown, the man's genitals actually explode and he's still alive, and it doesn't kill him. The warden of the prison wants to reschedule it. The crowd won't let him, and in the end, they wind up killing him for their own vengeance. I found it to be really interesting. It was fun as far as anthologies go. I thought for the most part the production values and the acting and all of this was very entertaining and well worth looking at. You should be able to head on over to Chemical Burn Entertainment to get a copy of this. As far as a rating goes, I'll give it a 2.5 out of 5. Good movie to sit down, have a few drinks, get your mind in the right state. If you like independent short films and you want to see things that are a little bit different, stylized in a different way, I would definitely recommend this. It's a fun night of watching, and there's always something as a young filmmaker or producer that you can learn from watching this film. The only slight disappointment that I would give with this disc is there are no special features, none. There's not even a trailer for the film on here, and as a big fan of behind the scenes and special looks behind the set, it was a little disappointing not to see something on here. The film does have fantastic DVD cover art. Actually would not mind having a copy of that to hang up on the wall. I think it would be a great conversation piece. Overall, I would give the disc a 5 out of 10. The movie is really great. The cover art is really great. It's just a shame that there really are no special features. But definitely, if you're a collector, this may not be a film for your collection, but definitely something for you to get video on demand, Redbox, anywhere that it's available. So again, head on over to Chemical Burn Entertainment and pick up your copy of Sinister Visions. In about 6 minutes, we're going to have our feature interview with none other than Joe Pincushion. We're going to be talking about Annuncio Meet Man, The First Step, and American Exorcist, as well as her show on Scrapple TV entitled Creepy Basement, and her work in social media and content creation. But before that, we're going to go into our second Metal Blade Spotlight song for the evening. Once again, we give you Satan's Wrath. The name of the CD is Die Evil, and the song is Castle of Torment.
I
welcome back. Once again, you just heard Satan's Wrath from the CD Die Evil. The name of the song was Castle of Torment. And don't worry, friends of metal, after our feature interview with actress, writer, and producer Joe Pincushion, we will hear a double shot of Satan's Wrath. But now it's time to bring on Joe Pincushion. Joe, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I loved that last song. It felt like I was right in the middle of the Castle of Chaos.
You know, that's part of what we try to do here on the Calling Hours Horror Podcast. We like to blend our horror with metal since they seem to go hand in hand so well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, let's get people a picture of who you are. Tell everyone who Joe Pincushion is and how you got involved in the industry.
Well, I am an actress, writer, and producer in the Philadelphia area. I've been doing creative things in Philadelphia for a really long time, and I've been working with Scrapple TV on this awesome show called Creepy Basement, where I interview weirdos in and around the Philadelphia area, and that's where I met Johnny Zito, and he is one half of the two directors, Johnny Zito and Tony Trove, that did American Exorcist. That's coming out in 2016, and it's really exciting times. I feel like I've been doing a lot of creative small things for a while, and American Exorcist really feels like something that I can be proud of, and I'm excited for everybody to see it and get to know me.
Now we're going by IMDb, so we both know how that goes. So if a date's wrong or something takes place, you know, beforehand, please let me know. But looking at your IMDb, you got your start in 2011. You started as an actress and a producer, starting with the short, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Annuncio. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Annuncio, and how was it wearing?
Italian for you.
Okay.
Dan Tabor, he is a local filmmaker in Philadelphia. He writes for a blog called Geekadelphia. And he's a really passionate fan of film, and it was his first project. And I just started blogging with Geekadelphia, and he asked me to have a little small part in it, and I helped produce it because I've had experience producing commercials and stuff like that, you know, right out of college. But I was able to take my skills and help him, you know, with casting, and I think they shot at my house a few times. But it was just a small short, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, mentioning that, you know, just out of college and working on stuff, you graduated from LaSalle University with a BA in communications.
Yes.
You know, when you got your degree and when you were going to college, was it always your intentions or thoughts to get into the film industry? And, you know, when you took that first step, when you first started working on these things, you know, give the people an idea of how you went about that process. Because you know, a lot of people go out there, get their degree today, and half of the people can't get jobs in their field. So, talk about how you got into it out of college.
Well, LaSalle was a great place that I went and learned a lot of stuff. But they're mostly broadcast based, and I always wanted to do film. I always wanted to do film or theater and acting and things like that. And one summer, the film teacher, I was focusing in film and mass media, and the film teacher did a horror course, and I had failed like an economics course that semester, so I took that horror course, and it just like I've always loved horror, but it really instilled in me the love for there's deep meaning behind a lot of horror films and the way that they're made, and that the horror genre has been around since the beginning of cinema, and it will never go away, and it will always be amazing. And then with that class, I put together the first haunted house at LaSalle University. And after working in college, I went on to work at the Bates Motel and Haunted Hayride, and I scared people. I worked at Eastern State Penitentiary, Fright Factory in Philadelphia. All at the same time, I also had like a job with a local production company making commercials, or I worked with the Thanksgiving Day Parade. So it's just really weird the way life works. Like, I graduated, and these opportunities came to me, and I just feel like everything that I've done has led up to this point of really wanting to focus on filmmaking and wanting to do these great characters. I did theater since I was young, and haunted houses made me love scaring people. And then I really wanted to do it creatively, so I pursued a part with Annunzio, and then I worked with Dan Brown in The First Step. And American Exorcist was the best thing that I've done so far, but I'm just hoping to have more and more opportunities to get out there and do more film, because it's not easy. Like you said, some people go to college and they get out of college and they don't have a job. Dude, this isn't my job. I don't make money doing it. It's a passion project. Like,
sure, but I mean, at the same time, it is a profession for you. And when we talk about creepy basement and stuff, we'll get into that a little bit more. But one of the things that I think is really nice is, I watched some of Creepy Basement, and I thought the interviews were very spot on. I liked the way that things were edited together. The questions and the content, of what you asked your guests really shows a passion and a determination for what you do.
Well, thank you very much. We all work very hard on that.
It's definitely something I think is fun and that people should go and see. And like I said, we'll definitely go into more detail on Creepy Basement here in a few minutes. But you followed up Annunzio in 2011 with Meat Man, and I did not have a chance to see Meat Man, but I did as much research on it as I could, and I got a kick out of it being about a small American town who's comprised of meat eaters whose lives are rocked by the unexpected influx of vegetarian neighbors.
Militant vegans is what we were. Yeah, we were militant punk rock vegans. Oh my God, that film was so much fun. Erin Davis put that together, and she's one of my dear, dear friends. And she lives in Los Angeles now, and she's doing really short comedic pieces, and she's doing great work. And I'm so happy for her being out there. But they wrote this musical that was going to be performed in Philly Fringe, and then they thought, why don't we just put a film to it? Why don't we film it too? And I played the angry, militant, vegan lesbian that was in love with the other vegan girl who was in love with the meat delivery man. So it was so much drama, so many plot points. And it was a musical, too. I sing in that movie.
Now, did you find that to be a more challenging aspect of that role, doing the singing?
Oh, no. I did theater since I was really young. I've been probably singing before I was acting. Although right now, I don't sing as much as I used to. But I love singing, and I love being able to be in a musical because musicals are so surreal. Like I grew up on The Wizard of Oz and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I love it when people break into song for no reason. Why not? It's the movies. Why the hell not?
Now, your next project, and I found this pretty interesting. I've never been able to track down an episode, but when I was doing my research on you, you were part of a comedy news reality TV show called Unconventional.
Yes,
kind of talk about how you became. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that with POW Entertainment and Stan Lee's people. They were coming to Philadelphia to go to Wizard World. Matt Murray and they're called the Agents of Mayhem. Darren Pascalero. I hope I said his last name right. But they were coming to Philly, and they were like, "Hey, we need some geeky places to go around Philadelphia." So I took them to the Mutter Museum, which if you don't know, have you ever been to the Mutter Museum?
I have not, but I know what it is. So.
Oh my God, it's the first. It was the first, doctors' university in the United States, and they collected medical oddities and deformities, and it's still there. There's like a giant colon the size of probably your couch, or like a little love seat that's there. But I took them there, and I took them to one of my favorite bars, Tattooed Moms, which is a great geek spot in Philadelphia. And they were kind enough to put me in the episodes, and I played myself, and I told them about Eastern State, and it was really great and I met Stan Lee, and I'll tell you, that man, he's got a strong hug. I was very taken aback by it. I was like, oh, Stan Lee, he's like, He's what, 88, 89, and I was like, I'm gonna give him a gentle hug, and he almost knocked me over. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall on top of Stan Lee, and it'll be terrible. But no, I didn't. But yeah, that was fun. And I also did a video for them where they had Stan Lee has a cologne, and they had me go to Wizard World and ask people to try Stan Lee's cologne. It was fun.
Now, of course, that kind of took you away a little bit from the horror that you had worked on before in the comedy. You know, when you talk about a TV series, kind of explain how it was for you. Did you enjoy working for a TV series like that more, or do you prefer more the theater and film aspect of making a project?
Well, that really wasn't a TV series. I would call it more online content. And what I say to everyone about online content, especially people in college and kids in high school, like when you're not on a paid gig and when you're not making a movie, making online content is the best way you can exercise your muscles.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love doing Creepy Basement, and I love going to events in and around the Philadelphia area and have a camera and just practice our craft, whether it just be me improving with random people that I talk to. So, I mean, I like it as a form of exercise. Of course, if anyone wants to give me revenue to do that, that's fine too. But really, online content's great. It's a way to stay sharp, and that's really what we do. That's what Scrapple TV is we really just try to get our content out there, and when we're not working on a movie and we're not writing something for ourselves, we're just trying to exercise, and that's all you can do, because you can't be creative all the time. You got to make it yourself.
Certainly. Now, you started doing stuff on Scrapple TV in 2013, which was the first date I saw on any of the videos when I was watching some of the back episodes. Kind of give people an idea of what Scrapple TV is, what its mission is. What, is it strictly a horror-themed content? Is it stuff from any genre? And if people are interested in getting involved with something like Scrapple TV,
Scrapple TV is great.
Process?
Do you know? Before I explain Scrapple TV to you, do you know what Scrapple is?
I know what Scrapple. I live in North Carolina. Scrapple is on the shelf in the grocery store here. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Sometimes people don't know what Scrapple is. Scrapple is every part of every animal, I think, or like every part of the pig that's there. And I think it started in the Philadelphia area, which is why we picked Scrapple. But that's probably the best way to describe Scrapple TV. It's a whole lot of different stuff. We have live music. We have the episodes of a puppet show. We have my show, which is an interview series that focuses on horror and weird people. We have another great show called High End Cuisine, which is a cooking show that teaches you how to make food with a certain ingredient that you might want to include in your meals. But we like to say we're homegrown entertainment. Like, we are the underground punk rock content creators that are trying to make content that you don't normally see. Like, we look up to Vice and things like that. And right now we're actually in the midst of doing a fundraiser for another documentary on Eddie Savitz, which was this really disturbing thing that happened in Philadelphia in the 80s. And you should check it out. It's called The Resurrection of Eddie Savitz. Google it. It's going to be really cool. But Scrapple TV is just, it's, of all the places in Philadelphia, like, I've bounced around a lot creatively. It's the one, Woodshop Films is the hub where it's where the real artists are. It's where the people that eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff are. And we just want to keep creating, and we want people to see it and appreciate it.
Now, it's not, is it a regular station by itself? Is it something that's only on certain nights of the week?
Well, it's a YouTube station. We are broadcast on cable access television in Philadelphia, but really it's just, we like to say it's like a pirate ship filled with cameras and some lights, and we have a cat there. It's really punk rock. We make the content when we can, and we post it when we can because, like we said, it's like an exercise. But we're looking into getting more people interested in our content, and we are looking for opportunities to grow and to churn out content faster and to get our message out there.
Now, you guys ever looking for submissions if people listening, or is it something you're trying to keep strictly in the Philadelphia area?
Oh, we're always looking for people. If they have cool ideas, like shoot us a text. Go to Scrapple TV on Twitter and shoot us a DM. Follow us. We're always open to ideas. We have some Smut Cave is the people that are based in New York. So, I mean, it's the internet. You don't have to be anchored to Philadelphia. We can take content from everywhere. That's the beauty of the internet, the series of tubes.
Now, when you guys come up with your own concepts for Scrapple TV and the things that you do, you know, with the eclectic nature of everything that you guys show on there, you know, for you, when you go into your creative process and say, hey, you know, let's do a documentary on this or something on that, you know, what is it that you personally look for? Are you, you know, of course, with Creepy Basement, you're interviewing some of the more interesting folks in and around the Philadelphia area and the events. I thought the Skeletor episode in particular was hysterical. I don't even know where you got that from.
He's
a
great
was
guy, that Skeletor.
You know, but you know, as far as content goes, you know, do you guys look to push the limits? Do you put certain restrictions on yourself on what you guys will put on the station?
Well, Mark Brodzick is the captain, as we say, of the ship. So everything goes through him. He's really open and just very supportive and a generous person who wants to encourage creativity. And people pitch to him, and he's like, all right, we got the cameras, you set it up, you do the work. Like, they don't, and if you want your show done, you have to, you know, carry it on your back a little bit. But that's good, because you need to learn how to do that in production. Nobody's going to carry your project yourself. But there's also a great team of people who are there who will help you out and be there. And when you say, like, is there something that I would choose to help out on and not choose to help out on, I try to help out as much as I can. If I wouldn't help, it's because I do too much stuff. But
right.
American Exorcist was like the first big project that they've done that they invited me to, and it was a really big deal for me, for Johnny Zito to like ask me to be in it, because since I was a big fan of theirs. I was a big fan of Alpha Girls when it came out about 3 years ago. And that's what I wanted to do. Like, I saw Alpha Girls, and I saw this group of people who were being creative, and I was like, that's what I want to do. That's where I want to be. And to 3 years later be, like, best friends with these people and making really awesome movies and great content is really something special.
Now, let's talk about Creepy Basement. How did the concept for Creepy Basement first come around? And you know, was it something in the beginning that you always wanted to be the host of it? You know, what led to you wanting to become, for lack of a better term, a horror host? Because you talk about in the description, you interview local and national figures that have a particularly creepy passion or persona.
Yeah. Well, what I did was I had a podcast for a while where I was interviewing people and producing it and managing the schedule, and I didn't feel like my brand was where I wanted it to be, because I've always loved horror, and I've always loved talking about it, and I've loved weird stuff. So I knew the Woodshop people for years, and I approached them, and I was like, hey, guys, I want to do horror stuff. I want to interview people who are special effects artists, who are filmmakers, or just weirdos. Like, I want to do something other than the podcast that I was doing. And they were like, hey, we have this concept that we've been pitching around called Creepy Basement, because the basement at Woodshop is super creepy. Why don't we do it in there? So right away they were really receptive to me asking for help, and they put together this great show. Kevin Gallagher lights it, and it looks great. It looks professional, and I couldn't be happier with that. I mean, in another city, where could someone just walk in and be like, "Hey guys, will you help me make free content?" No? Okay.
Right.
It's great, and it's turned into something that's so fun and so rewarding that I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon.
Now, what is the frequency of your shows? How often do you put something together?
Well, like I said, we are a pirate ship, punk rock, so we really don't hold ourselves to too much of a schedule. But when we produced American Exorcist, that took up a lot of our time this year, and it's summer now, so that happens. So I think we'll start shooting more episodes in the fall, and we usually shoot like 4 or 5 at a time, and then release them through the next like 3 or 4 months. But I like it that way. It makes them a little bit more special if they're not done as frequently.
Now, one of the things that's really, I think, is unique about the show, and I think you bring it out really well, is your character seems to have your persona on the show. You know, you have an irreverent sense of humor. You know how to tie the black comedy elements of what you're talking about with your guests,
thanks.
and I think that comes across really well. You know, in particular,
I love humor.
And it's very apparent. The interview, one of the interviews I want to touch on, you did a 2-parter with Lloyd Kaufman.
Oh yeah, he's really awesome. He's a sweet dude.
You know, I've been dying to get him on the show here. I've messaged with him several times, but Lloyd's schedule is so nutso that it's hard to get him. You know, you did it was like 2 5.5 minute segments, and this was after, of course, you had mentioned, or we had talked about Meatman and the singing and the punk rock, you know, in love with the girl that loves the guy. You know, it reminds me a lot of Nukem High, or Return to Nukem High. Very much, it has a very similar feel.
I never thought of that. That's a really good observation.
Yeah, you know, when you said that, so, you know, when you had Lloyd on, you know, how long was, you know, you first asked him to come on, you know, what was it like actually interviewing Lloyd? And I'm guessing that the interview was more than just the 10 minutes that we saw between the 2 episodes, you know.
No,
kind of talk about how is it when...
It wasn't. Like, that was it. That was the only time I talked to him. It's interesting that you talk about that interview, because, like, I love Lloyd Kaufman, but that was, like, the most uncomfortable of the interviews that I've done. Mostly because that was the first batch of interviews we filmed at Woodshop. So it was like my first day, and it was an interview through Skype. And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have you have these earphones," and the earphones kept like falling out of my ears. So like you can look at it, you can tell that my head's turning because I'm trying to get the headphones not to fall out of my ears because I want to hear what Lloyd Kaufman's saying to me. So
right.
But it was cool. I was like really nervous because I was like, oh my god, I can't hear him. I hope I answer him right. But he was really sweet. Actually, I see him at conventions. I saw him at Wizard World, and I saw him at Monster Mania. And you can always go up to him and be like, hey, I'm a big fan. I love your stuff. And I went up to him and was like, hey, you were on Creepy Basement with me. Thank you for doing it. He's like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's great. That was really awesome. I'm glad the episode turned out great. So if you're at a convention and Lloyd Kaufman's at a convention, you could definitely go up to him and be like, you should come on my podcast, because he's open to it. He knows the independent scene. He knows what it's like to be a struggling independent artist, and he wants to promote your stuff because you want to promote his stuff. He's really supportive, and he's great.
Now, and you know, that's something else that I wanted to ask you, and of course, the answer seems obvious now from just a little that we've talked, but you talked about Scrapple TV being that pirate ship, that independence and going out there and doing what it is that you guys do and doing it, you know, rebel style, and that, of course, is very much Troma's way of making a project is, you know, Lloyd's all about the independence and you know, furthering that cause. You know, would you guys say that Troma Studios and Lloyd Kaufman have definitely been a huge influence on what you guys do with Scrapple TV?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Johnny Zito talks about how he, likes Troma, and we all talk about how much their model is an influence on how we can do it. I mean, it's even that Lloyd simply says to people, just make movies. Just make movies and do it your way. And mainstream Hollywood might not pick up your stuff, but some people will like it. So, I mean, yeah, if there are weirdos that will love Troma stuff, there's got to be weirdos that will love Scrapple stuff,
I had some guests on a couple months ago, and I asked them, and since, you have that same fierce independence as Lloyd, and it seems like Scrapple TV is very much in that same mode, I've always wondered, you look at Lloyd's career and everything that he's done, both films that were big budgeted, like his involvement with Rocky and stuff like that, and then, of course, you look at The Toxic Avenger and Kabuki Man and all of that. Do you ever think that there's going to be a point in time where Lloyd Kaufman would actually be recognized by Hollywood? Like, do you ever see Lloyd as being a guy that would be giving an honorary Oscar or some type of award in that fashion?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. You know what? In Hollywood fashion, I would say they would probably wait until he died and then be like, oh, whoops, here's something for you, Lloyd. Because he is a huge influence. He is. But, I mean, films like Romeo and Juliet might not meet the standards of Oscars. But, hey, there's plenty of people who would give. I would give Lloyd Kaufman an award if I had one. I would make one. It'd be like out of tinfoil. I'm sure he'd love it. He would cherish it anyway.
There'd be pictures of that on his Twitter all over the place. I know Lloyd, so. One of the other guests that I had a really fun time with watching the interview, people who listen to the show know, of course, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. And you had Ophidian the Cobra on. And that interview to me, that interview in particular to me, where I talk about your presence and quote-unquote your character on the show, the whole part where, you do the hypnotism thing and, at the end where you go doing this thing, when you have someone like Ophidian in, do you, scripted is not the word that I want to use, but when you guys do stuff like that, especially with a pro wrestler, how much of that do you plan out? How much of that is on the fly? Because I thought that was just a highly entertaining interview to me.
Well, it's funny that you say I play a character. Yes, Joe Pincushion is like a caricature of myself, but I would say that compared to earlier years of the stuff I've done in Philly, like my blogging and my podcasting, I definitely feel like I was playing more of a character then. I feel more like myself doing Creepy Basement. Like I feel like I can make fun of myself and I can try to make these guests feel as comfortable as possible because I'm an idiot too. Like Stephen Colbert used to tell his guests, remember, I'm the idiot. Like, I just want to have a fun interview and I want to have a good time. As far as that interview, I went up to him, I was like, all right, I want you to hypnotize me. What should we do? And he's like, okay, because one of his special moves is he hypnotizes people.
Right.
And I just thought it would be fun. So it wasn't improv, I'm sorry. But I always, like, when we first started producing Creepy Basement, like, I wanted to do, like, big gags at the end. Like, I wanted to tie up guests and, like, pretend I killed them or things like that. But Witch Up was like, look, we have no money, and that's going to be way too much, so no. So I try to put little cute things in and try to be funny. Because I feel like horror and comedy are like BFFs. Like,
right.
They go, like, Shaun of the Dead is one of my favorite movies. They go so hand in hand. And I think from learning, I learned this by working at haunted houses, you're always going to have those big guys that walk through a haunted house and they're not going to get scared. Fine, that's fine. You can make them laugh, though, and they'll be entertained. Right. So if you can't scare everybody, you might as well make them laugh every once in a while, and then they'll be entertained. Because really, that's all I really want to do is just have people either get scared out of their minds or laugh at me. And I don't know what that says about me.
It says that you're entertaining and have a great sense of humor, for one. I can tell you that much.
Cool.
Now, one of the other interviews I found interesting was your interview with Mistress Black, comedian of the dark arts. we could go on. Please go ahead. I would love to get your thoughts on that episode too.
Mistress Black. Mistress Black is a character. I have to say who her real name is because she's too amazing to hide. A real person named Nikki Black. Nikki Black she's a young comedian. She just moved to LA. I think she's going to bring Mistress Black out there and try to do the live show out in the Los Angeles scene, and I hope she really does because it's brilliant. It's Victorian style stand-up, and she plays these gothic characters. But Nikki Black is also very macabre. She's 23 or 24 years old, and she's a breast cancer survivor. One of the strongest people I have ever seen because she incorporates that whole experience in her humor. And for someone that loves dark humor, this is a girl who said to me, I used to date a boy who thought he was a werewolf once. And I'm like, oh, my God, I love you. She's, I want to have a pajama party with her and just try to make our own Book of Shadows and cast spells. But, Nikki Black, a.k.a. Mistress Black, is definitely someone everybody should check out.
You've had such a great mix of guests on your show, and I plan on watching the rest of the episodes when we finish our interview tonight. Like your most recent one, you did the Insidious 3 4D experience. Kind of tell us about how it was doing that.
That was really cool. I got invited to check out this little mini haunted house that they were traveling around the United States, which is a really cool idea for promoting a horror film. Because what better way to promote a horror film is, put people in a haunted house based on it. But what they did was they put an Oculus Rift on your head. Oh my God, I've been so out of touch with with virtual reality. The second I put this thing on my head, it was like I was in the movie. And as someone that loves haunted houses, to see that kind of technology incorporated in a haunted house, it was a lot of fun. And those screams and those noises that you hear in the video, that's me really reacting this is So yeah, if you're really claustrophobic though, you should definitely go because you won't get scared. Sarcasm.
Hey, you're just as bad as I am.
I love scaring people. I just I think it's because I was bullied as a kid. It's a way to get all the stress relief out of me. Taking people through haunted houses that hate haunted houses is a really good pastime because it's really fun to watch them scream. Anyway.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You're talking to a guy who, in real life, everyone calls him Dead Man. No one calls me by my real name either. So you and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to doing stuff like that. Trust me.
Who needs real names anyway?
Exactly.
They're for boring people.
I would feel remiss if I didn't mention some of the other people that work on this with you, and you've mentioned a couple of them, but and I hope I'm saying everyone's name right. Mark Brodzik, and of course Johnny Zito, Kevin Gallagher, and the show is edited by Paul Trigiani.
Yes, you're so good at all those names.
I have to. Doing a podcast, I get butchered when I don't say names right. So it's most of the time I get them right.
As someone who hosts the show who pronounces words wrong quite often, I'm really impressed.
I do appreciate it. You kind of talked about working with these guys on Scrapple and everything, but kind of talk about how it is working with these guys individually and collectively for your show. You're the co-producer for Creepy Basement, and I'm guessing you come up with the majority of the content. When you sit down with these guys and you bounce ideas off of them, kind of talk about how that process works for you guys.
Oh, well, I primarily sit down with Johnny Zito. He's the other producer that helps me make this happen. He helps me find guests and helps me come up with questions. And it's bouncing ideas off them is great. I've been used to environments where, you say 3 or 4 ideas to someone and they're like, no, they're terrible, keep going. But, you get the answer of, okay, all right, no, but let's flesh it out. Let's see what we're doing. And they're not not combative. They're not negative. They're always there to help improve your thought, and they help to direct me into presenting myself in the best light, which you can't say for a lot of people that work with women in horror. Like, they're just interested in helping me present myself the best that I can, because not only are they my producers or my, I'm going to say cohorts, but they're also my friends, which is the best part of it. And as far as working away from Creepy Basement, Johnny Zito and Tony Trove directed American Exorcist, and working with them was a great experience, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I hope to do over and over again if people like this film.
Now, you brought up an interesting topic just a second ago. You talked about women in horror and how some people are about working with women in the genre and things like that. Let me ask you your opinion on that. How do you feel women in horror films are portrayed today as opposed to how it's been over the last 30 years? And do you feel like that there are starting to be more and more, I don't know, powerful may not be the word that I want, but more prominent positions and roles being offered to women in the genre?
Well, I feel that in general, which is a great thing, women in all forms of film, no matter what genre, are being presented with more and more strong female characters and riveting material, which is great. Like, Mad Max is a great movie. The Babadook is my favorite horror movie of 2014.
I would agree with you 100% on it. I thought that was an extremely powerful film.
Yeah, I could talk about the Babadook forever, but we can't. We can't do that. We don't have enough time. It's hard. It depends on the person creating the horror, because there are still people out there that want to make horror movies where I'm in a wet T-shirt running in the rain getting murdered by a guy in a scream mask, where I would rather be the person doing the murdering, or the nutjob, or the complex character that has to deal with something that she can't handle. Like, it really depends on who you go to. It's getting better. I mean, hashtag it gets better, female actresses. But we're not 100% there yet. We're not 100% there yet behind the scenes. Women aren't represented as directors. They're not represented in a lot of crew situations. And there is sexism still in the industry. And that's hard. It's really hard. Because I know a lot of women that are as good, if not better, than a lot of men that are in the industry. But I'm not one to pit men against women. It's just like, hey guys, can we just be equal? But in every form of, in every profession in this country, we're all experiencing that problem. But
sure.
I guess to like come back to the point, like, it's getting better. Tony Trove and Johnny Zito definitely write roles that are strong for women, and like Alpha Girls isn't just like you see, it's a satanic sorority slasher, but it's not like your stereotypical one. Sure, there are boobs in each film, but they take the time to make everyone feel comfortable, and they always put, like, all the women in their roles are strong. Like, Fallon Jocelyn plays a really great, smart character in American Exorcist, and even my character, I approached it. I was like, oh, do you want me to like be like this? And Johnny C is he's like, come on, let's give you a little credit. Let's give you some motivation that makes you like really awesome. Yeah, okay, cool. So I try not to give away too much of a plot with that, but yeah, it's getting. I guess I'm just gonna keep saying it's getting better. You can tell that I'm not that confident in it, though, can you?
You say whatever you want.
It's hard. It's always hard. It's hard being a woman in this industry. But the thing you have to do, and the thing I would say to every woman, is surround yourself with people who are good for you. Surround yourself with your tribe. Like, I keep saying that Woodshop Films, they're not only my cohorts, they're also my best friends. Like, and I know that they're looking out for my best interests, and they want Fallon to play characters that are great, and they want to show everybody that we're more than just pretty faces. So it's really important that you find the right people.
I would agree with that. You know, the 5 films that I've had the opportunity to work on and be a part of, both as, you know, producing, effects, and acting, I've been able to work with, you know, women who are fiercely independent and, you know, and directors that have always been able to give their women, you know, what I feel are higher roles or better written roles because they care about the content and quality of not only the male characters but the female characters. And that brings up an interesting point. I wanted to get your thoughts on this since you're such a fan of horror. And I think this would be, you know, something great to hear you tackle on Creepy Basement or something like that. You know, you look at the progression of horror films over the years and how women are treated and how men are treated and things like that. But you look at current world events and how polarizing some events can be and how, I guess the word I want to use is how PC the world is starting to become. Do you feel like Do you feel like that has a part in how some roles for women are portrayed in the genre? And do you feel as a whole that some filmmakers are less willing to take risks now because they are afraid of having their work pointed out and alienated because of the PC armies today?
Well, I would say it's a double-edged sword. I would also say no press is bad press. If the PC pirates don't like your stuff, don't let anyone silence you. I would hope that people aren't like, oh, everyone likes women now, so I'm going to write like a strong female part. I would like someone who genuinely cares about women and cares to show us in a different light to do that instead of being worried about what other people are going to think. As an artist, you're going to put yourself out there 100%. You're going to put your heart and your soul out there, and if you're not okay with yourself and if you're not okay with criticism, then you shouldn't be making art. You should, you're going to have people that don't like your stuff. You should trust your instincts, stay close to the people that really care about you and you collaborate with really, really well, and just go for it and put anything out there. The PC police, like, I'm online all the time. I'm on Facebook all the time, and I'm on Twitter all the time. And I'm all for equality. I'm all for peace, love, and understanding, but sometimes it's people are getting freedom of speech is really getting hindered. Some people's creativity is getting hindered, but I mean, we're on the internet now. We can all say everything to everyone. I think this is just the climate that we live in, and we have to just adapt and we have to roll with it. Because if we all start becoming nervous about our art and worrying about what other people are thinking, are we gonna make really good films? I mean, come on. Let's look at the remake of Poltergeist. Let's look at the remake of Ninja Turtles. They thought everybody likes those movies. They'd go see them again. Like, it's a common mistake in Hollywood. It's a dangerous, as you know, Fox News or anyone else on the news says, it's a slippery slope to be worried about what other people are going to say. Now, if you're going to make a film about, you know, being racist and killing babies, I'm not going to support that. So you go ahead. No one's going to see it. I'm not one to tell an artist you can't make it. I was just in a music video with a woman painted like a cow in a bathing suit with an udder fountain strapped to her stomach. It's weird, but I'm not going to tell my friend Hannah that it's weird. I'm going to support her art, and I'm going to trust her that she's going to have a great vision. That's what, as artists, that's what we should do for one another.
You need to send me the link to that music video. I've got to see that now. But
as soon as it's on my Instagram, if you check me out on Instagram, Joe Pincushion, there's a slow motion video of that. Check it out. It's really weird. It's weird. It's sexy and it's weird.
I am down. The weirder, the better. It might be something I can put up on Horror Society. I think the fans out there
put it up. It's great.
Now, you've had, like I said before, you've had an eclectic and a great bunch of people that you've interviewed. You know, looking forward to future episodes of Creepy Basement. You know, if you had a short list of dream people to have on there to interview, who would you like to have on there and why?
There are people that I would like to have on there. Whenever there's a band in town, I'm always like, can we try to get this lead singer? Like Marilyn Manson was in town, and I was like, oh please, oh please, oh please. And
oh wow.
We couldn't get that. No, we can't. That's like a shot in the dark. But Bill Moseley is in American Exorcist, and I am a huge fan of Bill's, and he knows this. So I have yet to work up the courage, like if he's in town, to be like, hey Bill, while you're in town, do you want to hang out in my creepy basement? It'd be really cool to talk to him and to share some of the stories that I heard of his, like at the craft services table. He was talking about Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses, and I was trying not to choke on my lunch because I was so excited. It would be really cool to be able to bring him into the basement because I'm a huge fan of Rob Zombie and his stuff. So
I tell you now, you'd have to do more than a 5-minute episode with him. I was real fortunate several years ago and got to do an hour-long phone interview with him. And then not that long ago for Living Dead magazine, he did a 13-question interview with me. And absolutely a great guy, an amazing sense of humor, and as you know, an incredibly talented man. I'm sure
oh my gosh,
Bill would
he's
be
just like,
more than happy to come on your show.
Well, I'm like, the whole time everyone knew that I was a giant Bill Moseley fan, and I was trying to hide it and to be like professional because we were professional and on a set. But yeah, he really blew me away as someone who's like been a fan of his for a long time. Like I remember watching Devil's Rejects in college and just being like, oh my God, this movie, and seeing him on set with my best friends talking about the script and he was so supportive. He talked through the script. He talked through what he thought he should do. He was really collaborating, and it was great. It was like, oh my God, there's this horror legend who really sees what we're doing here and is really cool and really supportive. And it felt like, I mean, he went above and beyond than he needed to, and we hope that he's really happy with the results. We're really happy with having him.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely one of my favorite actors right now. I fully believe that when you look at the genre, since we've had the passing of Christopher Lee and Vincent Price and guys like that, I definitely feel like Bill is one of those guys that is the forebearer of the genre. He fits in with a Bruce Campbell, with a Kane Hodder, a Robert Englund. He's the name in our generation.
Oh, yeah, when you talk about, like, Will Lloyd Kaufman getting an award, will Bill Moseley get an award, this is someone who also supports independent cinema, too. Like, being on those sets, being on those independent films where there's minimal craft services and a very small budget, it takes patience. It takes a really patient person and someone that loves their craft and loves independent horror to do that. And it just shows that he cares about the genre and he wants to I think he wants to be a part of as much of it as he can, and it really showed when he was on set. I think he should get an award.
I mean, no arguments there. I really, you looked at the content of House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects, and, in that same magazine, I wrote a retrospective on this series, and Bill Moseley's performance in that was just, it was transformative. If nothing else, he should have been nominated for a Best Supporting Actor role, nomination
absolutely.
for that role. And it's just a shame that the genre gets looked down upon so hard that someone with a true talent like his doesn't get recognized mainstream for the time and the effort that he puts into his roles. So I'm right there with you on that. If it was up to a vote, I'd vote for it today.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I saw him mention in another interview, I don't remember the name of the people that interviewed him, but I think it was like little punk people. It was like a little 5-year-old asking him questions. It was pretty intense, but at one point the 5-year-old says to him, like, are there any roles that, like, you want to play? And Bill Moseley just kind of looks at the camera and goes, I want to play a good person.
It doesn't happen too often with him.
Bill. I mean, his whole career is just playing like all these terrible people. Oh, Bill deserves a good person. He needs to be a good guy in a movie every once in a while.
At least one. I agree with you. let's move on. In 2014, you did another short horror thriller called The First Step, and in that one you play Cellar Dweller. Kind of tell us a little bit about how you became involved with that project.
Cellar Dweller is actually, that's my first creature role, as I like to put it. I saw the ad on Craigslist, and I knew the directors. I knew that these two people that I knew were going to make a ghost series, a web series, and I saw the ad on Craigslist, and I emailed them. I was like, hey, is this you guys? Because I want to be a creature. So I auditioned via Skype, which is great because the Internet's wonderful. And I was in makeup for 9 hours in a basement in January in Philadelphia.
Nice.
And if you see the costume, I'm really not wearing anything but, like, these prosthetics for this creature that I'm supposed to be. So it was very cold. But it was fun. It was my first attempt at film creature acting, and I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot during that because creature acting is not easy. I do a little bit of creature acting in American Exorcist as well. It's you get into the makeup chair and you're in the makeup chair for 3 hours, and then you're sitting in that makeup for maybe like 9 to 10 hours, and it's glued to your face, and you have fake teeth in, and it's terrible. But as soon as the camera starts rolling, like, you forget about all that, and you're just this crazy creature thing. And I had and I had like this.
I know how that goes. Being an effects artist, I've been the guy putting them on people for that long. So.
Oh yeah, well, our makeup.
We take delight in torturing you guys sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky that the makeup artist that I like to work with, Steve Saturn, he's very good. He doesn't torture me too much, but it's important that, you know, the makeup artists stay with their person and see if they want to kill everyone because their teeth hurt so much, and then you just calm them down with the water. Yeah, The First Step is a really it's a creepy little short. And I had like this cute little I'm on the first step voice. It was like a mix between an old lady and a troll. But that was the first attempt, and it's a lot of fun. And I think creature acting is something I definitely want to do again. But it's just like you said, you're an effects artist. You know how much it hurts. I can't imagine doing, which I probably will, hopefully in the future. But I can't imagine doing a creature role for 30 days in a row. Like, doing that to my skin for 30 days in a row is really it can
be very physically demanding, but both on the effects artist and the actor, because you're right, you know, sometimes you can sit down for 30 minutes and be done, and then other times it can be an 8-9 hour day in the chair. So it is very physically demanding, and it's an entirely different element, like you said, being a creature as opposed to quote unquote an actor, because there's so much more that goes into being a creature in terms of like body movement, facial expressions, and things like that.
Yeah, one thing that I learned from The First Step that I incorporated into American Exorcist is with American Exorcist, I tried to use music to keep me in the zone, as I like to say. So for American Exorcist, I made this satanic playlist that I played while I was in the makeup chair and while I was in the makeup, just waiting to go on camera. Because you need to have something that's keeping you in character, so you're not constantly feeling like, oh my God, I just want to like rip all this stuff off my face. Because
exactly.
With the last step, like I felt the prosthetics, like I felt that they were on my body. But this time working with Steve Saturn, like he did such a great job with the effects on American Exorcist. It became a part of me, and I was able to meditate and to listen to my heavy thrash metal while I waited to scare people.
I dig it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about American Exorcist since we're on the subject. It's being directed by Tony Trove and Johnny Zito, of course, and you mentioned Bill Moseley being part of the cast and everything. And I got to watch one of the makeup behind the scenes where one of the actresses, it looks like she has 2 of her fingers bitten or ripped off. I watched the fundraiser videos and things like that. You know, kind of talk about how the concept of the film came about and how they drew you into this project.
Well, like I said, I spent a lot of time with my woodshop people. I actually give Johnny Zito a ride home. He's like my carpool buddy to the studio and back. So he'd been telling me stories about how they were gonna make another horror movie, and they're gonna shoot it in one location. And they knew that if they shot it in the office building, if we just got one location and did everything there, we wouldn't have to do any moves, and we could just get it done. So they had this great idea, and they wrote a script based on that idea, and they came up with Georgette Dubois is our main character, and she goes to this haunted high-rise on Christmas Eve because things have happened in this office building that are terrible. In the beginning of the movie, something happens in 1984, and that's where you first see me in the film, and it hasn't been used since then. So Georgette has been hired by the building manager, Bill Mosley, to inspect the building. She's a skeptic. She doesn't believe in ghosts, so she's there to debunk the myth. And needless to say, Georgette has a really bad day. Like,
yeah, I could tell that from the
there.
behind-the-scenes makeup video. It didn't look like she was having a good time.
No, it does not. It does not end well for her. She has some difficulties. But I mean, it just the idea that Tony Trove and Johnny Zito didn't even put together a script until they knew how they wanted to do this production-wise shows you that these guys know what they're doing. As an independent film, it really helped. We got this the old Family Court building at 12th and Chestnut in Philadelphia. They were going to demolish it, so they said to us, we're going to tear it down, do what you want. So we didn't really have to fix anything that we broke. Or we had blood splatters on the wall. Yeah, we took bookshelves from the building and incorporated it into the sets. We built sets. It was like we couldn't have asked for a better location because we used every little bit of it. Like it's like an avocado. Like we scraped everything out that we could from this building, and we had a wonderful time doing it. In their first film, Alpha Girls, they said that they were just worried about getting it done and moving from location to location. This time, since we were stationary in one location, we were able to slow down. We were able to be more artistic. We got shots done right. Everything was shot on a red by Matt Jaffe, who's a great director of photography in the Philadelphia area. And it's surreal to me to have been doing short films and online content and commercials and infomercials for so many years, and to be able to sit on a set and look at the dailies of this film and feel proud for something and feel like for the first time you're creating something that you can really be excited about is awesome. And not a lot of people can experience that, and I'm really grateful, and I'm super excited for it.
Well, I can't wait to see it. Is there any word on a release date? Are they looking for theatrical release, direct-to-video, VOD?
Yeah, we have lots of ideas. Right now we have a GoFundMe on AmericanExorcistMovie.com, and we're really trying to get it released by 2016, and we definitely want to do theater distribution. We already have pre-distribution to iTunes and Amazon Prime. And something that they keep talking to me about, which I think is going to be a really fun idea, is we want to go on tour. Like, we want to take this thing around the country. We want to go to horror conventions, and we want to go to theaters that are near the horror convention and rent them out and have a place for people to come and meet us and see the movie and have an experience, because that's what's missing now from movies. Nobody wants to leave their house. Nobody wants to go see a movie. Let's make it fun. Let's make it like the days of Rocky Horror, where people like came out and they had an experience and they had a good time. Not saying we want people to yell during our movie, but we definitely want, like, it's great to hear the overwhelming response online, and we hope that we can take it on the road and just show people this film on our own terms and not have to worry about theater distribution, which ultimately, is the dream, but we also got to be realistic.
Right. The last big question, since we only have a few moments left, you also do a lot of social media and content creation work. Kind of talk about how it is working in that aspect of the business, and then to tie it to the film and in particular the genre, how do you feel that social media has changed the face of how horror films and horror projects are brought out to the community?
Well, I mean, social media is a great way to get your name out there. We successfully funded a Kickstarter campaign back in March due to heavy social media use, going to blogs and going to local publications and stuff like that. As an actress, I definitely believe that social media is beneficial in a lot of ways. If a casting director has a choice between you and someone else, it might come down to how many people follow this one on Twitter and how many fans does this one have.
Right.
So it's a way to build your brand, and it's a way to build your recognition. It's great. I mean, people follow me on Twitter, and then they find Creepy Basement, and they tell me how much they love Creepy Basement. It's a great way to stay connected and to talk to your fans. It's like you're not reading a letter to someone and hoping that they read it. You can send a message to anyone, and they're definitely going to read it because it's the internet.
Right.
I mean, with social media, with like IMDb and IMDb Pro, I mean, do some Google stalking and you could pitch your film anywhere. It's not as hard as it was. All we need is to look up someone's address and mail them a DVD or mail them a tape or something like that. It brings the world closer together. It helps with fundraising. It helps get the word out. I just love content creation. And it also, like I said before, it helps flex your muscles. It helps keep you in your craft.
I would agree. I mean, that's how we met, was on Twitter. So, I mean, it helps bring people with a like-mindedness and a fondness for the same things to get together and talk.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
I just love Twitter.
You know, I definitely want to thank you for coming on. I think it's been very informative. You know, I really enjoy your work. You're always going to be welcome here on the podcast. If you have new projects or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. You know, whenever you have something new, I can always put it up on Horror Society. As a matter of fact, I would like to extend an invitation to you. I have a series entitled Deadly Beauty, Horror's Scream Queens and Rising Talent, and I think that you would be perfect for that. It's a very short, small questionnaire, and it just gives people the information on you, how to contact you if they want to check out your work and things like that. And speaking of which, if you're interested, I'll send that information to you later this evening. But if people want to get in contact with you for acting, to be a part of Creepy Basement, just to talk to you in general, where do you recommend they go? Facebook, Twitter, your website? Where do you want to send people?
You can find me on Twitter at Joe Pincushion. My website is joepincushion.com. Google Joe Pincushion, and chances are I'll pop up. And also definitely check out AmericanExorcistMovie.com. Like I said, we have a GoFundMe right now, and there are some really kick-ass rewards, including some autographed stuff from Bill Moseley.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
And there's also an associate producer credit out there. I saw that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy IMDb credit. Come on. Come on. This is how we get money. We ask people like, don't you want it?
Well, like I said, it's definitely been an awesome honor having you on, Joe. If I ever make it up to the Philadelphia area, I'd love to get up with you guys one day and just talk shop. Maybe I can video you guys and put you guys on Horror Society.
Oh, that would be fun.
So, again, thank you so much for being on, and I'll be in touch with you later tonight about the Deadly Beauty series.
Yes, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Anytime. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, that was actress, writer, and producer Joe Pincushion. Make sure to check out her work in Annuncio, Meat Man, The First Step, and the upcoming An American Exorcist. Also, make sure to go out and check out Scrapple TV and watch some of her amazing interview segments on Creepy Basement. And if you need help in social media and content creation, she is the woman that you need to speak to. Coming up in a few minutes in our second Digital Dismemberment Spotlight, we are going to be reviewing Scream Factory's special edition Blu-ray release of Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland. But before that, we're going to go into a double shot in our final Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. The name of the band is Satan's Wrath. The name of the CD is Die Evil. The name of the first song is Coffin Lust.
Thank you.
podcast on Horror Society Radio. This is the Dead Man, Michael Jones, welcoming you back. You just heard a double shot of Satan's Wrath in our Metal Blade Spotlight. Off of the new album, Die Evil, you just heard the title track, Die Evil, and we opened up that set with Coffin Lust. Make sure to head on over to metalblade.com to find out all the latest on Satan's Wrath and all of the other great artists on Metal Blade's label. Order your CDs, your band merchandise, find out about tours, and more. Wanted to give a shout-out to everyone to make sure to head out to livingdeadmagazine.com and pick up issue number 7. The specialty this month is Female Horror Pioneers. Featured interviews include Elvira, Adrienne King, Brink Stevens, the Soska Sisters, Terry McQuinn, and more. The guest artist this issue is Gris Grimley. And the Dead Man himself has an interview with the legendary Scream Queen, Debbie Rochon. So once again, make sure to head on over to livingdeadmagazine.com and get all of the news as it pertains to independent horror and the horror lifestyle. I had also wanted to say to make sure to, and don't forget, that the Calling Hours Horror podcast is not the only radio show out there on Horror Society Radio. Make sure to check out Creep Show Radio, hosted by Chris McGibbons, late Sunday nights into Monday morning. And let us also not forget Flesh Wound Radio, which takes place on Thursday evenings with Todd Loya and Daniel Shine. Those guys, all of them, put together great shows with great content, DVD giveaways, reviews, interviews, and more. So make sure to check out Creepshow Radio and Flesh Wound Radio, all a part of Horror Society Radio. But now it's time, ladies and gentlemen, once again, for some digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in our final digital dismemberment segment for the evening, we are going to be reviewing Scream Factory's special edition Blu-ray release of Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland. Spoiler alert for those that are listening. To just reiterate from last week, this summer, Scream Factory invites horror enthusiasts and movie collectors to further venture into the great outdoors and experience what Camp Rolling Hills and Camp New Horizons have to offer. Nature walks, randy campers, puritanical camp counselors, murder, and a feast of gory goodness. Fans of the popular Sleepaway Camp movies rejoice as the collector's editions of Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, and Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland hits on home entertainment shelves everywhere on June the 9th of this year. Both movies debut for the first time on Blu-ray. Each collector's edition Blu-ray DVD combo packs features anamorphic widescreen movie presentation, exciting bonus content, newly rendered retro-style artwork, a reversible wrap with theatrical key art, and more. To give you a little bit of background info, welcome to Camp New Horizons, where an autumn retreat brings together a group of obnoxious rich kids and surly city thugs for an experiment in sharing. Under new inept management, this is the ideal setting for notorious psychopath Angela Baker, played once again by Pamela Springsteen, who was in Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, to join the camp and do what she does best, eliminating immoral teenagers with everything from a knife to a lawnmower. Michael J. Pollard, who was also in House of a Thousand Corpses and Bonnie and Clyde, Tracy Griffith from Fear City and The First Power, and Jill Terashita from Night of the Demons, co-star in this third installment of the Cult series. And again, this is one of my favorite series in the horror genre for sure. once again bringing back transgendered serial killer Angela. And this time it's a little bit different. Angela kind of sneaks her way into camp this time. The movie opens up with Kashina Kessler, who plays Maria, heading to camp. And as she's leaving her house and walking down the road, she's chased down an alleyway by a large truck and is run over. Angela's the driver of the truck and winds up disposing of her body in a trash compactor before taking Maria's place and heading out to Camp New Horizons, which was once Camp Rolling Hills. When she gets there, there's a reporter played by Randy Lane. The character's name is Tony Richards, and she's interviewing the different campers, and it's an expose on seeing different social classes living and working together at the camp. Tony makes her mistake and talks to Angela after Angela tries not to be interviewed on camera, and she wants Angela to get her some cocaine. Well, Angela winds up giving her some Ajax instead, which kills Tony after she snorts it. As you go on, you find that this camp is a little bit different than the previous ones that Angela has worked with. The kids here are a little bit more troubled. You see gangbangers, racists. There's a little bit of everything that goes on with this. And you have the camp counselors, who are played by Michael J. Pollard and Sandra Dorsey. And then there's Officer Barry Whitmore. And it's found out later on, and Angela realizes that he's the father of one of her previous victims. Well, the group split into three groups, and they're placed in a group with, Angela's placed in a group with Herman, Snowboy, who's played by Kyle Holman, and Peter by Jarrett Beal, and Jan, who's played by Stacey Lambert. After going fishing with Snowboy and Peter, Angela gets pranked several times with fireworks and things like that. But when she gets back, she finds Herman and Jan having sex in the tent. And Angela winds up impaling Herman in the mouth with a log and bashes Jan's head in. She hides the bodies and tells the other two campers that they've gone back to camp and that they'll be back. Angela winds up disposing of Peter by sticking a firecracker in his face and killing him. And then she winds up killing Snowboy with a log as well and burning him alive along with the other bodies. The next day, Angela goes to Lily's campsite that has Bobby, who's played by Haynes Brooks, Cindy, played by Kim Wall, Riff, played by Daryl Wilcher, and Arab, played by Jill Terashita. And Angela tells Lily that Herman told her to switch places with Arab. So Angela takes her out there and winds up decapitating her with an axe. She returns to the camp. There's a big argument between Cindy and Riff, and Lily sends the campers out for a trust exercise. Angela winds up being blindfolded first by Cindy, and Cindy does things like throwing bugs on her and things like that. So Angela gets her revenge by attaching her to a flagpole, raising her up, and then dropping her on her head, crushing her skull. She goes back to the camp, and Bobby, basically tries to press himself upon her and upsets her. So she tells him to meet up with her later. To get rid of Lily, Angela winds up burying her in a trash pit up to her neck and runs her head over with a lawnmower. She later on waits for Bobby that night, and she ties him to a tree and rips his arms off with the Jeep. She then kills Riff by stabbing him with 10 spikes. So the next day, the last day, Angela goes to the other camp where it's Barney, Marcia, played by Tracy Griffith, Tony, played by Mark Oliver, and Anita, played by Sonia Maddox, and Greg, who is played by Chung Yu-se. They're all camping. She tells Barney she's to switch with Marcia, but Marcia objects. They go over to the other camp, and Angela fakes a leg injury. And they fix it back at the other camp, but Marcia discovers Lily's body and runs. And Barney figures out who Angela really is, and she winds up shooting him stone cold to kill him. She finds Marcia and captures her. and she catches up with Tony, Anita, and Greg that night. She ties them together just to tell them they're playing a trust game. However, she shows them the dead body of Barney and makes them find Marcia in one of the cabins. Angela sets up booby traps that winds up killing Greg and Anita pretty explicitly. And she's going to let Marcia and Tony live. However, Marcia attacks Angela and stabs her several times. And the police show up. It turns out the whole time Marcia has been playing Tony, finding out she already has a boyfriend. Angela is being taken to the hospital, and the paramedics discuss killing her. And as the guy in the back goes to do so, Angela winds up stabbing him with a syringe. And when the driver hears what's going on, Angela tells him that she's just taking care of business. And, that's kind of how the movie ends. Again, I don't think it was quite as a powerful movie as the first or the second one. However, I felt like it was a great addition to the series. I felt like budget constraints had a lot to do with it. I don't think this movie had quite as much financing as the original, but I still do feel like some of the kills are some of the best in the series. And as a matter of fact, in the special features, there's an audio commentary with director Michael A. Simpson and writer Fritz Gordon. And there's the Tale of Two Sequels Part 2, which features new interviews with Simpson, cinematographer Brett Mills, actors Mark Oliver and Kim Wall, along with a host of others. There's also behind-the-scenes footage with commentary from Simpson. And then there's a work print of the film, and it is a work print. I mean, granted, you're watching a Blu-ray. The quality is better than what it would be watching it on VHS, but it's really nice to watch it because this contains all of the deleted scenes and additional gore footage that were cut from the film because they had such a hard time getting an R-rated for the film. Unfortunately, most of that footage was destroyed after the film was made and edited, so there was not a way to add it back in digitally that would have made it fit in well with the new Blu-ray transfer. But I think it's a nice addition, and then there's a deleted scenes featuring the gore footage so that you can see it separately without having to watch the whole film. And it really is. It's just additional gore, which I felt like would have worked better in the film and added more to it. Unfortunately, the censors did not see it that way, but at least the addition of the footage is included on this disc. There's also the home video promotional trailer and a still gallery. The Blu-ray is a 1080p high-definition widescreen, 1.78.1 DTS HD Master Audio Mono. The DVD is anamorphic widescreen, 1.781 Dolby Digital Mono. Overall, I would give Sleepaway Camp 3 a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Again, it's not that it's a terrible movie, but I feel like the cuts that were forced upon the film really helped to remove some of the elements that made the first two films such classics in the genre. Definitely not a trash film, definitely worth getting, definitely worth filling out your collection if you're a huge Sleepaway Camp fan. As for an overall, I feel like the new art is absolutely amazing. I enjoy the original cover art as well. So it's a well put together package. The special features are everything that you hoped and expect from a Scream Factory release. So I would give the disc an 8.5 to a 9 overall as a rating out of 10. This is definitely worth picking up. Make sure to head on over to www.shoutfactory.com to pick up your copies of not only Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland, but pick up Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers. And while you're there, go ahead and finish out the original trilogy and pick up your copy of the original Sleepaway Camp. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like it's been another fantastic evening here on the Calling Hours Horror Podcast. We want to say thank you once again to the absolutely fabulous actress, writer, and producer Jo Pincushion for coming on this evening to talk about all of her work, in particular American Exorcist, and her show on Scrapple TV entitled Creepy Basement. Make sure and go and check all of that out. We want to say thank you to our friends at Metal Blade Records for sending us along Satan's Wrath and their newest album, Die Evil. We also wanted to say thank you to our friends at Screen Factory for sending us our special edition Blu-ray release of Sleepaway Camp 3, Teenage Wasteland. And thank you to our friends at Chemical Burn Entertainment for sending along our copy of Sinister Visions. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, this is your head undertaker, the dead man from Horror Society and Living Dead magazine, telling you all to rest in peace.